Hi everyone. Today, more gardening stuff. Don't you love the planning stages though? I mean the opportunities, you know, and so that's what I'm doing today. I am planning out shade plants for the balcony, and it does get some light, so I'm going to do part shade. These baskets that I put up on the top railing, they get the most sun, so those can be full sun to part shade, but everything else, geez, my voice today, everything else is going to end up being more shady. Now I already know from last year a couple of plants that did well and the ones that didn't. And the Swiss chard did great, and the lettuce did great. The herbs did okay. The thyme did the best, I think. The oregano and the marjoram, I got something, but not a lot. And the same with the sage. And then what really didn't go well was my calendulum, or pot marigold. Those poor things, they grew so tall. They kept stretching and stretching, trying to get to the light, and I did get some blossoms, but not very many, and they just didn't look very good. One thing I'm up in the air about growing again are the Mexican marigolds, because those looked fabulous, but those too, they stretched. And maybe it's because of where I had them, but they stretched and they went through the rungs of the fence there on the balcony, and it looked really cool when you were walking up and you could see them coming out. But the leafy parts, that didn't look so great because of them trying to, but now I may still grow them and then grow something that's more shade loving along the side there, so you know, you don't see any scraggly stems with hardly any leaves or whatever. So yeah, I learned a little bit last year about what not to plant and what does do well, but I guess I wanted to broaden my horizons a little bit. So, and that's not the only spot. I have a little bit of room in garden number 2, that's your standard plot in ground, that has a little bit of shade. So I am looking at that. One of the things that I was thinking of was black-eyed Susan vine, because it's to grow up a trellis that goes by the rain barrels, and I think that would look really cool. Plus I feel like, you know, it would be good for friendly insects like bees, but we'll get on to that. So anyways, even though I absolutely love the internet for researching stuff, I still love my books too. Regular paper books. So right here I have the Square Foot Gardening. And I know everybody thinks about, you know, vegetable plots and whatever when they think of square foot, but you can use it for almost anything. Now, for this, the square foot, you know, I'm trying to figure out for pots how many seeds or plants per pot out in the balcony. So that'll come in handy for that. I have a month-to-month gardening in Wisconsin, which is really nice. So if you can find one for your state, I really encourage you to do so, because it really helps you out as to when you should be setting out plants or planting directly in the ground or the pot, you know. Otherwise you may be running out there covering stuff, or it just may not germinate, and you don't want that. This is a really good one too for containers. This guy apparently can grow anything in a container. The Vegetable Gardener's Container Bible. So I'm only planning on maybe doing a few vegetables, but there's, you know, it's still something maybe I could get more in them spaces. And then this is the big book of gardening skills. So, I mean, I have other books as well. I just kind of cross-reference and see what this one says. And, you know, if I find a really cool plant in this book, I might reference this book to see, you know, will it really work in our weather and what time, you know, they're saying put it out in March, whereas this book says, oh, no, mid-April. So stuff like that. Anyhow, and it can help you look up plants you're not familiar with. So that's another thing. And right now, I started a little note earlier today. For veggies, I'm not going to do a lot, obviously. And when you're going for shady or part shade areas, you're not going to want any kind of veggies that you eat the fruit of, basically, or that flowers. You're going to want to stick with your leafy greens for the most part, because those will grow better in cooler weather and especially in less sunlight. So that's why I have written down here lettuce, chard, and spinach. I didn't try spinach last year because I thought it needed more sunlight, but I found through reading a bit that it can handle part sun, so we're going to give it a try. I'm going to put it in a big container, maybe even with the Swiss chard, I'm not sure yet. And then herbs. Herbs I knew would do fairly well out there because, again, I'm looking for the leaves. Now when you're looking to plant herbs, look not just for what you use in your cooking in the kitchen. There's a lot of great herbs out there for tea or medicinal purposes. Like, I like growing sage. Not that I add it a lot in cooking. I do add it, but just not a lot. But I really like it for its medicinal properties. And, you know, I posted that video, oh geez, I don't know how long ago. It's been a while. But sage is great for mouth sores. Any kind of sores you would get in your mouth or in your throat. Like if you have a sore throat, or if, you know, maybe your kid has braces and it's rubbing wrong or whatever. Any kind of sores you have in your mouth, you make a tea with the sage and wow, you know, it really helps a lot. So think of that when you're doing it. Like, I'm going to be planting mint. I'm not putting mint on the balcony, although I could. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. But mint is one of them that does well in part shade, and obviously that's great for a tea, but so is lemon balm, you know, and lemon verbena. I mean, there's a bunch of different ones you can use. Very, you know, plant yourself some chamomile, but that's not shade good. But you know what I mean. There's a lot of other plants and herbs out there that you can plant for teas, you know, relaxing time. Like borage is one of these plants I'm looking at planting. I've never really grown it before, and I'm kind of excited to do that. And every year I try to pick at least one or two things I haven't grown before and take my, you know, try and figure out if I can do it. I'm just not sure if I'm going to grow this straight from seed or from a seedling, maybe that I get from the nursery or something. But what I'm telling you today, all the plants I'm mentioning are all annuals. Now, if you're dealing with a bigger spot, say you got a shady area in your backyard, go ahead and do the perennials. Plant them once and be done. You know, you don't have to keep planting year after year, unless of course you want to. But you can do stuff like bleeding hearts and lily of the valley and all the different hostas that are out there. There's a pretty wide variety of plants, perennials, that do well in the shade. The only thing with perennials is they are notoriously difficult to grow from seed. So you are better off buying a plant, a small plant or seedling from a nursery. Or if someone you know has it growing in their backyard. See if they don't mind splitting up a little bit with you. And there's also, if you look in your community, looking on Facebook, because they have a lot of community events, but also Craigslist and wherever else you have a community board. In spring, you'll find that a lot of places have plant swaps, or they're just, you know, outright selling extra plants they have. And that's a really great way to get perennials that work for your area for a lot less money than going to the nursery. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. Mark your calendars. So I found on here, it said in one of these books that parsley will also grow in part shade, and I did not know that. I always planted it in the sun, and it always did okay, but now that I think of it, I think I almost always planted it near tall things, so maybe in a way it wasn't getting full sun all along. But so now I am going to try and put some parsley out there on the balcony. I want to see how well it does, and how awesome is it to be able to walk right out my door and get stuff for a salad or fresh herbs and whatever. I mean, geez, it would be great if I lived somewhere where I had a lot of sun, or more sun year round. I mean, even if I didn't live where it was really mild, if I had, you know, a nice big sun area, or I could put a greenhouse or something, that'd be sweet. But I don't, so I'll take the winters as a rest period and, you know, dream up stuff for the upcoming year. So I'm going to do that. And what else do I have on here? Flowers. You know, like I'm such a practical person that a lot of the times I won't grow stuff just simply because it looks pretty. It's got to have some kind of use for me, because I don't know. But I've come to appreciate just because it is pretty. And a lot of times those things that are pretty also draw bees and other beneficial insects. So for flowers, I just wrote down here, I haven't looked really well, but I have begonias, which are one of my favorite flowers. I just love begonias. They're just so beautiful. But one thing I'm going to do different this year is I'm going to see if I can do white begonias. I mean, I've never had those before. My favorites are yellow and red, but I saw a white begonia in a magazine, and I'm like, oh, how pretty is that? It just looked really nice against the green foliage. So I'm gonna look for that this year. And impatiens, of course, they do really well. A lot of people plant them in the sun, and you know, they'll grow and everything, but really if you have them in a more shaded area, they really explode. So I'm gonna have me a good amount of those. I'm divided. I'm not sure with this in those baskets. I wanted to kind of grow what I had last year because it really attracted hummingbirds, but I want to see if I can grow morning glories, because they do get more sun there, and I'd love to see those draping down over, because even when the flowers are closed, the foliage is so pretty, because you know morning glory leaves look like hearts, and so they're darker green. I think it would just look really pretty, and especially nice in the morning when the flowers were actually open. And those are one of the few things you can grow by seed. I just don't know if the pots would be big enough for its root system or whatever, so I'm going to look into that a little bit more. When I started the balcony last year, I wasn't really that happy with it. I didn't think it looked that great, and it's like, but this is what I'm capable of doing right now, you know. And so it's like, well, you know, it's better than nothing kind of thing. But as everything started to grow, it became so nice. It was like a little oasis out there, you know. And if you're a city dweller, you know, like I am, or you know, you don't get enough or as much as you'd like of nature. That really, you know, that really helps to have that there. I mean, I'm even grateful for the trees that are right outside my window there, because I just love being outside, and I love plants, and I love all the greenery and all of that, and having to be city-ish, yeah, you don't get a lot of that unless you go to a park or something, you know. So I got to remind myself that what it looks like in the early stages isn't what it's always going to look like, and it'll work out, not to over stress about it. So that's what I've got planned so far. I'm going to be looking further in here because I'd like to plant, I keep forgetting the names of stuff. The first part of it's sweet. It's a real little flower, and they drape, and I wanted to get them in white because I'm like, oh, how nice would that be if I could get some stuff out there that has a nice fragrance to it, you know, like summertime. I think of summer whenever I can smell a tomato plant. I'm obviously not planting tomatoes out there, but it's like, what else could I plant that has this nice smell to it, that's just that little extra besides feasting on everything with the eyes? What would have a good smell to it? So I'm kind of looking at that. Like as beautiful as the begonias are, they don't have any kind of smell to them, and that's why they're not my #1 favorite flower. My 3 favorite flowers are begonia, that's number 3. Number 2 is lilac. How can you not love the smell of lilacs? If that's not a spring thing, I don't know what is. And then my #1 flower that I just adore are peonies. And I could never grow them. I tried and tried. My husband kept mowing them over. But I love peonies. And I know a lot of people don't like them because of the ants or whatever. But you shake them out and they're fine. I mean, it's a big explosion of flower. And it's so pretty. And they last a long time. And the smell, oh, that smell is just out of this world. I love the way they smell. It's so beautiful. So anyhow, that's what I got. But you know what, you guys? I know I didn't go over a whole lot of plants. I'll put some links down in the description box. If you want links to any of these books, let me know in comments, and I'll link them to you. I'll send you the link. How's that? But in the description box, I'll put links to plants, all 3, like veg, herb, and flowers that do well in part shade or full shade. So that if you're trying to plan something out for a shady garden, you can get something good too. It's good to know this ahead of time too, before you go out to the nursery. Sometimes they'll have, I wouldn't say they label them wrong, but sometimes it's like full sun, and it's like, no, I know it can do okay in part sun. So that kind of thing. Anyhow, thanks for watching, you guys. I really do appreciate it. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And make sure to subscribe if you're not a subscriber yet. That would be awesome of you. It was nice talking to you. And you, take care.